Hi everyone, welcome back to Breaking Bad Habits number 3. Apologies for the long-winded explanations in video 2, which I've just rewatched. So I'll try and be a little bit more succinct in this one and try not to waffle quite so much. So let me start by giving you some examples of how you can affect the change in your negative habits that might be keeping you stuck in a certain situation. So let's start with alcohol. So the first one for alcohol, for instance, might be, let me give you an example of maybe your trigger is 5 o'clock knock-off drinks at work. So you might go, okay, well that's a trigger for me, and that's when I feel like having a drink with my friends so that, I can engage with them and, have a bit of fun and participate in that. And that's your cue is 5 o'clock Friday. Your routine is to get on the alcohol, maybe have too many, or for some reason it's a negative habit. And the reward is you've actually had a really good time with your friends, but perhaps it's been a negative thing because you've drunk too much. Okay, so how do we replace that? What do we do differently? We simply interrupt the routine. So you still got your cue and your trigger, which is the 5 p.m. Friday. Great. And you can go along to drinks and still get the same reward by socialising with your friends. But what you might do is exchange out just one of those drinks to reduce the amount of alcohol that you're actually having. Or if you're working on giving up alcohol completely, you might choose to have a non-alcoholic drink. You're still having the same routine, and you might choose to have a mineral water and maybe even a stubby of mineral water if it's a stubby of beer that you're normally holding on to as your a little bit of a security thing, and you're still conversing with friends and having a really good time, and the achievement that you feel and the sense of accomplishment that you feel, particularly the next day when you wake up and you've got the weekend to yourself minus the hangover. So you can't get much better reward than that. Okay, so that's just one simple strategy that I'd like to share with you. A little bit more intricate are some of the communication things that go on within couples in every day. And these are the things that I'm working with my clients when they're caught in negative habits and behaviours in the way they communicate, miscommunicate, or avoid communicating altogether. 4 of the negative behaviours in communication with couples are things like stonewalling, so the silent treatment, a very common one. It might be belligerence, or it might be criticism, contempt, or defensiveness, and they can play out in different ways. But there's certain little habits that are going on within the brain, the neural pathways in your brain. It triggers a fear response in you within the amygdala, and all of a sudden you're scanning for fear and thinking, boom, I'm going to react in this way, and you create and reinforce that pattern of negative communication with your partner. So how do we interrupt that? Simply by using some of the strategies that I'll teach you within the Save My Marriage program if you're working with me. However, if you're wanting to interrupt that here and now without going into the program, you can simply, as you've probably been listening to the other ones, you've identified you've identified why it is you're doing it, you've been journaling about that, and you've been pulling it apart a little bit. So well done on doing that. The next step is to choose to do something differently. So the new routine. Okay, so you've still got the trigger, you know what that is, whatever it is that sent you feeling a bit fearful or scared or about to react in some way, but you're pulling yourself up now because you're actually aware of that. The next step is responding differently, doing something differently. So that routine, we're interrupting that all-important routine. You're still participating and you still get the reward at the end, but hopefully it's a more positive outcome than perhaps what you've been getting. Because if you continue in that dance, the dance that you two do when you're in that argument, or when you withdraw and do the silent treatment, or use contempt and are quite mean to one another, you know how that's going to play out, you know how your partner's going to respond, because you've been stuck, both of you, in that pattern for far too long now. Okay, so to start with, we interrupt that routine. And one of the things that you might do, for instance, if it's stonewalling, you might choose, okay, so if you find yourself avoiding or not knowing what to say, perhaps you can start by beginning to explain, I'm feeling really upset now. I'm feeling really upset about what you said. I don't want to get into another argument with you. I'm choosing to respond differently. And what I want to do is just spend some time on my own to gather my thoughts together And then I'm going to come back when I'm feeling calmer and I've calmed down for a period of time. And then I'd like to start this conversation with you over again so that we don't get into trouble territory. That's what I need. I need to just have some time so that I can calm down, and then I'm going to come back in. So you're still getting a little bit of your silent stuff, but you're actually voicing how you're going to kind of use that to give yourself some space. And instead of silent treatment and then perhaps coming out in anger, but you're actually letting your partner know, hey, this is how I feel, this is what it's about, and this is actually what I need right now. And then the reward will be hopefully a better response from your partner and a more loving relationship between the two of you, because you're connecting and you're communicating, and instead of coming in with your engines roaring or the silent treatment, which can be just as damaging as saying mean things, because you're really shutting down all connection and communication with your partner, which can create other negative things such as uncertainty and anxiety for either or both of you. So we're interrupting that routine that you were previously in by replacing it with a different routine. You've still got the trigger, which is something that's been said that's upset you, whatever it might be. Normally your routine would be to stonewall, so you kind of can still do a little bit about that, but the first thing you're going to do is let your partner know that I'm just going to go off and gather my thoughts, because I want to say things the right way without it getting to a fight. So I just need to get some clarity here, which is great. And then you're letting your partner know that I feel about I need. So well done. Now this is where it gets good, because what I want you to do while you're going away from the situation, you're removing yourself from that situation where you probably would normally do that, part of the routine anyway, and you're taking yourself out of that situation. Take yourself out of that situation, go somewhere and spend some quiet time, but actually maybe get your thoughts that are in here that you're having so much trouble voicing in a respectful and kind way, and getting them down on a piece of paper. And it doesn't matter if it's in a journal, a scrappy piece of paper, but just that will help the communication between your midbrain and your decision thinking part of the brain here. Because when that's going on, when you're stonewalling and that sort of stuff, it's really hard to think clearly. That's why sometimes we say the wrong things or we withdraw completely. And once you've done that, then hopefully you're feeling a little bit clearer in here about what it actually is that triggered you, and what it is that you're feeling, and what it is that you need from your partner. And you can simply go back to your partner and express that in a calm and relaxed way. After 15-20 minutes of cooling off, or perhaps you need a little bit longer, but let your partner know that you're going away to think things through, and that you will be coming back in once you've got your thoughts together. So you're interrupting that routine. The other all-important ingredient that you need to be aware of as well is your belief in yourself that you can change, okay? So we all have the power to change any negative habits if we truly desire, but it's having that belief in yourself during those difficult times that you need to hold on to. Believing and trusting in yourself that you can do this. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable because you're doing something different, and the neural pathways just want to keep you in that habit that you've been in before. So you may feel some resistance, but you need to believe and trust in the process so that you can keep strong. So that you can believe in yourself, believe that you are capable of change, and trust in the process to achieve the outcomes that you desire. Now, in saying that, it's important that you have someone who's going to support these beliefs as well. So equally, if you're aware of people that may make it challenging for you to believe in yourself, so perhaps it's about putting some practical strategies around that and identifying that that's a bit of an obstacle for you. So identifying who are the positive people that also believe in change, okay? So I know that without having the belief from my partner Lee in my ability to develop these videos and to start this business, I probably couldn't have done it. But I had the belief in myself, but I also had the belief from my partner and that level of emotional support that I truly needed to achieve my goals. So it's so important to not only believe in yourself, but have supportive people around you, particularly when you're going through some challenging times. Which starting a business is full of lots and lots of challenges, and that's for another video. But for the most part, believing and trusting in yourself, and if you're having trouble with that, at least having the willingness to believe that you are capable of change. And you may reinforce that and try to encourage that belief process by giving yourself an affirmation that you say repeatedly over and over and over and over again, so much so that you can almost hear yourself saying that as you turn over in that half-wake, half-sleep state during the night. So a willingness to believe it to be true. So you might say an affirmation to yourself something like, I am now in the process of positive change. I believe in myself. You can play around with the wording, and if you like, you can even email me, your affirmation that you've come up with, and if you need some help with it, just let me know. Thanks for joining, and I look forward to hearing from you.